So guys, this is our boy Jarkko Ahola, and this is going to be a studio version. Metallisydän with lyrics and translation. Dude, fatty, that's like the... I don't even know how to take it.
Pimeys on nyt laskeutunut. Sammunut on tuli viimeinenkin. Sydän yönä aika tullut on. Käydä yksin taistoon. Kun yksin on, eikä toivoa näy. Oot voimaton ja raskaasta kokee.
Oh my god.
Et luovuttaa saa, sillä rinnassasi hakkaa. Sydän metallinen.
Sydän metallinen is like Eco. I got it. I'm in the Discord with the mods. I got it. Metal Heart, right? This is such, and it's, I love the lyrics, how it starts off. You know, it's like the most metal scene. Darkness is falling. The fire has been out. We go into the battle. You have a heart of metal, right? That's so good. So one thing I love about Jarkko's voice is the color. He has a very unique color for a metal tenor because it's very clean, very crisp. It has a lot of properties present in like well-sung operatic tenorism, right? A lot of that clean, a lot of that like raised soft palate head voice resonance that is in, you know, a very chest dominant timbre that stays open. So it goes up into head voice, which is a mix technically, but it maintains all of the chest timbre that you get in his lower range as well. Yes, this is Finnish. And it's just such an impressive sound. You hear in this section right before how he opens up into it.
Ja raskaasta kokee, et luovuttaa saa, sillä rinnassasi hakkaa.
So you can add that kind of color to the low notes. Right? He can add that but then he also, when he goes up, he doesn't have to switch into a head voice or anything, but he also doesn't have to distort, right? He relies on what operatic tenors do, which is literally opening up the space to allow for a greater ease in the sound, and it's only possible through a really supported breath without much tension here. So he's a very tactile singer, you can tell, because he's not officially trained. That's what blows my mind about all of this. Is there's no like voice training that goes into it. This is all stuff he's discovered in his artistic pursuit, which is just so awesome to hear.
Sydän metallinen. Katson tähti taivaalle. Puhun kaatuneille sankareille.
So this is from 2005, which I guess, what is that, 16 years ago? We've heard a lot of Yarko doing stuff since then, right? In the past couple years, but it's such a fresh sound, right? You can hear, I think the difference between what you hear in this style of recording and this older recording and then the newer stuff is that as he goes on, what's amazing, and then this is how I can verify kind of the claims I'm making, is that he goes even more into that kind of above the jaw mask and skull resonance sound, which kind of manifests itself as that sweet color within all of everything he's singing. Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic.
Mutta moni vielä kuolee vuoksenne.
We've talked about, character singers, right, who kind of color their voice for the song to tell a story, for the purpose of telling a story. Someone like Annette does a really good job in that song. Scare maybe. I forget the name of it, but you adopt the character and color your voice in that way. He does that without taking, Scare Tale, that was it. He does that here without even removing any of the technical virtuosity from the singing. Check it out.
Mutta moni vielä kuolee vuoksenne.
So one thing, when Yarko does go up to those super high notes, he does add a level of distortion, which helps. It assists in evening out the pitch as you get up there, so it's easier to sustain with that false fold distortion happening, because it evens out the pressure between the vocal cords and the false folds instead of just putting all the pressure on just the vocal cords. But it's just like such a joyous distortion, right? It's such a joyous sound when he does it, because he maintains all the space in his mouth, keeps his mouth wide open, just keeps all of that color in the sound. He doesn't compress anything down. That's the other thing. He doesn't rely on compression often. You hear that vibrato in his voice. Vibrato is harder and harder to happen when you use vocal distortion, right? This is a free voice. So now we get the distortion, which adds a level of density to the voice, to the sound rather. And you get that deeper, more chest-colored sound that we were talking about in his lower. And it's just also wide open right in the middle of his range. Like, super powerful. And it's just awesome to hear. He can go high without distortion, no problem. Yeah, I'm sure I've heard him do that. Probably like in the Nessun Dorma or something. But I'm talking about like that higher register. Because I've heard him go up to like, B4s without distortion. But when you go up above that, there's always a level of manipulation that has to take place. But yeah, I want to hear it situationally, of course. It's so consistent too. It's not over distorted, right? It's still vocally phonatorally dominant, right? But the distortion just adds that level of crunch, that level of growliness. Take care, Fatty. Good to see you. That's all I know. I'm happy, Juice Guy. This was Dude, what a good fucking vibe. What a great feeling this is. See, now usually with a lot of the power tenors we listen to, there is a level, and like I said earlier, there's a level of compression that has to come into the voice when we enter high registers. But he does such a good job of keeping the timbres consistent by staying wide open, relying on, again, breath pressure and breath depressurization of the larynx. So using the breathing muscles to expand to depressure. That's how he's able to keep that sound open and going up, is by depressuring from the body instead of depressuring from the throat here, right? I love his onsets too. And this is a sign of a singer who figured out how to make the voice figured out how to make the voice work without, official voice training. Because his onsets are kind of just all over the place. They're super pressurized, but it's passionate, right? It matches the mood. It matches the emotion of the singing. This is the power of singing purely emotively and then finding out a way to make it work for yourself, which is completely as valid as going and getting voice lessons and figuring out how to make your voice work from a voice technique perspective. But the end goal needs to be the same, right? Whether you're self-taught, whether you're training with a famous voice coach or whatever, and trying to learn from someone else, the objective is to perform wholly emotionally and in a beautiful way, as this is an amazing example of. This is composed by Yarko. Lyrics are by him as well. That's freaking sweet. What a baller. So much energy. That is Patron. I need to listen to more stuff like that. Yeah, was. We're gonna react to that actual video, actually. Hate to break it to you. So sick. So I'm going to let this one play out and just kind of let it be, because we're about to listen to another version of it. Now, Eco, please remind me. I'm sure you mentioned it. Guys, by the way, this is a back-to-back reaction, so this is going to be then and now, essentially. Remind me, Eco, what is the year of the second video? So this is from 2019. So it's like almost a 15-year split in the recordings. And now we can hear Yarko's voice and how it developed over that 15-year period. Again, self-trained. This is natural vocal development through an industry professional. Someone who really just made themselves into a staple of Finnish metal vocalism. Thanks, Creeper D. Oh, I love it. Bratislava Symphony Orchestra. Very good. I know. Guys, like, what? This happened when we did this with Florence Welch. The 15-year difference. Like, it's so mind-blowing. When we heard him back in 2000, what was it, 2005, 2004, 2005? 2005. Great voice, amazing sound, amazing energy, amazing fullness of the voice, amazing power. Amazing. 15 years go by, and this artist has developed into a singer where he's kept all of those qualities that make that type of singing, that made that singing great. But he's matured, the voice and the artistry has matured into a place that is refined. You know, you can tell it's more efficient, right? There's less energy being expunged, gives you room to add more energy later to a greater effect. It's like taking a big block of very beautiful stone, right? Amazing stone, and you see the stone as it is, and you're like, wow, this is beautiful. And that's back in 2005. And then over 15 years, that stone has been chiseled down and turned into a beautiful sculpture. And you're even more like, wow, right? You can be impressed and you can enjoy the raw beauty of a more raw talent. But then as he's defined himself as an artist, as a vocalist, I mean, we've listened to a quarter of the song so far, and this is kind of the feeling you get. A little better production on the studio end too, but regardless, you can hear in the voice exactly what is happening. Power metal is ridiculous to begin with. Doing it in Finnish adds another layer of silly, and bringing an orchestra to the mix amplifies everything, and the result is jaw-dropping. Yeah, Antivanti, exactly. I mean, look, it doesn't matter what goes into something as long as the result is impacting in some way, right?
Et luovuttaa saa, sillä rinnassasi hakkaa sydän metallinen. Katson tähti taivaalle, puhun kaatuneille sankareille. Veljet, tule luokseni.
Oh.
Mutta moni vielä kuolee vuokseni.
Right? He maintains that really awesome approach. Oh man, just drop back and enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing this is. Little drummer boy. Yeah, you get a little drummer boy action, but this is like a battle song, so it makes sense to have that snare drum, that marching beat in here. I mean, this is kind of a battle song. What is this? It's a really cool fucking composition. What I like, one thing that's different between now and 15 years before this and that recording, is the way he is able to maintain and draw up even more chest timbre into that high sound. It's a more pressurized sound, but it's really fantastic. Check it out.
Mutta moni vielä kuolee vuokseni. Kun yksin oot, eikä toivoa näe. Oot voimaton ja raskaaksi taakka käy. Et luovuttaa saa, sillä rinnassasi hakkaa
All right, what a jam. Let's talk about the ending a little bit. Because I think once we started jamming out, that was in kind of the musical interlude, but there's a lot of great stuff happening. This is such a sick song. What a baller. Yeah, dude, right? Those huge, just amazing high notes at the end. Let me plug my piano in so I can kind of mess around with some pitches and just kind of see what he's doing. Because all of those stratospheric high notes are kind of manufactured, not in like a fake or unhealthy way, but they're able to be done through a really, really crisp and clean coordination between the false folds and the vocal folds purely for the purpose of evening out the pressure on the vocal cords. And I think it's really extremely interesting how he does it because it maintains the color, whereas a lot of people will do it without maintaining the color in the sound. But the way Yarko does it, not Marco, the way Yarko does those really stratospheric, let me see what I can get out of this. Let me find him. Let's listen. That's a really nasty high C. Wait. Yeah. Like the amount of chest he can just bring up to that high C is absolutely astounding. And keeping the back open as well. Yarko to replace Marco. Yo, Prima Luce, if you should go join the group of thousands of people who have DM'd me that. Not thousands. There's probably like a dozen people. Do you think it's crazy how the second you start uploading videos about singers, people think you know about their personal lives and professional lives more? If anything, you guys know more about these people than I do. But people have DM'd me on Twitter and Instagram even and been like, "Do you think that this is going to be the next Nightwish singer? Do you think this is going to?" I'm like, honestly, I'm not as invested in it. I'm like an ESPN commentator, right? I'll just keep listening and watching, right? Crazy. Does Yarko play bass by any chance? I don't know. So let's talk about it. So that's just a pure. What's fantastic is he's going up to high C. He's doing that he's adding that phonation and that depth without crunching the arytenoid muscles together, which would give you that Kermity sound. He's not compressing the voice either, which would give you a little more of a thinner sound. You would lose vibrato on it, right? And he's keeping the soft palate raised, which is what allows him to maintain that color. This is something that I don't know a single other singer who can do this. The color is the key. That's the hardest thing to maintain amongst all of this stuff. So he's a bass player, so I guess, yeah, he could fit the slot, right? What was that pitch? It's kind of between an E and an F. Fine. For those of you who are counting. Nice. It's kind of between an E and an F. So his voice is astounding by the nature of color and the depth of color he can maintain in certain parts of the range. For example, singing a wide open C4, C5 like that. Super hard. I mean, yeah, he's wow as always. Absolutely. I mean, we've heard him plenty of times. He's always wow. The difference between this and 15 years ago is his ability to maintain more efficiency in his singing while still doing all those crazy color things with his voice. For example, staying wide open like that on that high C while adding distortion and not compressing and maintaining that vibrato and the color that is so distinctively his own. Typical of a power tenor sound, same like an operatic sound. If you go above, in a lot of cases, sometimes around a D5, sometimes around a D5, C sharp, some people even on a C will need to transition up into the even higher register, which is what he does. What he does so well is he adds just enough distortion to maintain the color of the sound, but make sure that it's not difficult, right? Because if you don't add distortion, or if you don't transfer into a head dominant position above that secondo, well, it's not secondo passaggio, it's more like, the equivalent of like whistle tone for men almost, but it's not quite there yet pitch wise. It's that range above the secondo passaggio where you have to do something. You either have to get more head dominant, which would decrease the pressure, or you can add distortion to decrease the pressure. When he does those super high E, F pitches, he just adds enough distortion to even out the pressure, and so it doesn't sound, and there's no compression in the sound, there's no tension in the sound. So super cool. Let's listen to this play out again, and then we'll continue on. I know we need to spin the wheel. After this next one, we're gonna spin the wheel, and then hopefully Ahmad bumped up the next thing. Nice. Very nice. I mean, dude, this guy is just such a showstopper. And that's the only reason why I wouldn't say he would replace Marco Hietala. Because I think Marco Hietala is a bass player before he's a singer. Not that his singing is not as good as his bass playing. I'm not saying that. But you kind of just get that vibe, like personality-wise. You can get that vibe, And maybe I'm just like grasping at straws here. I'm not trying to say anything to his detriment. But there is something that usually happens when you put two kind of front runners in one place. Like there's a reason that the best and most famous singers in the world don't come together and do like super concerts, right? Yarko freaking metal god Ahola. I mean, you're not wrong, Eco. That is a completely reasonable claim.